I don't know about you guys, but the quarantine was not ideal for my eating and my physique when we first got locked down. I took it as a way to pity myself, feel bad. Obviously the whole world is going through this, but I took it as, hey, no, it's only me. We're all gonna die, so I might as well eat cookies, Chipotle, and pizza. And then you realize, okay, we're gonna make it through this. It's gonna take some time, but we're gonna make it through. Let me not eat like an asshole forever. And luckily, I'm married to someone who constantly reminds me that I'm eating like an asshole, won't have sex with me if I don't look my very best. That's something I need a therapist about, but also runs a pretty phenomenal nutrition company with Own Your Eating. And she's put together, that is Roz, my wife, some great challenges that you guys can check out. If you're like me, like you said, and you need a little extra accountability, you need a kick in the ass, you want to just learn a little more, you want to do something really cool at your box, at your gym, at your affiliate, you should check these out. So if you go over to SugarWad in the marketplace, we've got the Own Your Eating store in there, and there's 3 different challenges you can check out. If you're a box owner, I highly recommend you check out the Gym Nutrition Challenge. I think it's only like $169, something like that. And the cool thing about it is, if you're a box owner, you can give this to your members as a way to just, hey, I'm giving you a bonus. I'm giving you something. We appreciate that you stuck with us during the quarantine. We appreciate that you kept your membership active, or you can even make money. She's had a few gyms that have done really well at $169. You get 20 people signed up at $20, you've made over $200. So check out the 30-day transformation challenge for gyms. That's a specific one for box owners. And then we've got ones for individuals, the 30-day transformation challenge, as well as the 30-day get lean challenge. And with both of those, you're going to get programming, you're going to get daily information, daily accountability, and so much more. The transformation challenge is really for those that are either new to tracking macros and flexible eating, or maybe you've done it in the past and you want to get dialed back in like I needed. And of course, accountability goes a long way. It's something I preach as far as a coach. I have coaches for many aspects of my life, and the primary reason is I just need that accountability. Hey, did you do what I told you to do? Hey, don't forget you said you do this, right? It's just a reminder in the back of my head when I'm about to mess up that I got someone out there that's relying on me doing well and going to remind me about it. And then there's the 30-day get lean. This is more for the experienced people. Maybe you've tracked macros in the past, you have a good understanding of nutrition, but you're ready to take it to the next level. Maybe you've plateaued, you're ready for reverse dieting, or you just need some extra coaching out there. So you can check these all out on SugarWad. The link is in the show notes. But if you go to SugarWad, you go to the marketplace, you look up Own Your Eating, you're going to see these options. And the cool thing is, you can use the code Best Hour. You can use the code Best Hour, and you'll get 10% off any of the options there. So BESTHOUR. The code Best Hour will get you 10% off in the SugarWad marketplace. Check it out. Own Your Eating. Roz's 3 challenges, and she's seen tremendous results. And trust me, if you're working with Roz, I'm going to hear about it. She'll ask me for some feedback as well. So you really get 2 coaches for the price of one. Check it out. Use the code Best Hour for 10% off. All right, long time friend. We were just talking before we hit record. You're one of my longest tenured friendships in this world.
Same.
So this is Jess Fuller. I still have you in my phone as Jess Lustig, by the way.
Love it. I
That's
still have you in my phone as Jason Ackerman, as you'll always.
I didn't take Roz's last name.
You should be Roz in my phone. That's how I'll change you.
I'm surprised she hasn't made me take her last name. But I do have multiple iterations of you in my phone, but when I know I want to text you, I pull up the listed one because it's the 516. So I know that's like the OG number. It's like the bat signal for Jess.
That's correct. That's
so
a private that most people don't have.
If you want, before we start recording, if you want to say thank you for everything I've done in your life, you can do that now.
Quick disclaimer. I own multiple businesses in multiple industries, and I couldn't have done any of it without Jason Ackerman. So I just want to put it all out there before we begin, so we're all on the same page here. It is all thanks to He's the man behind the woman, if you may.
When, whenever we talk, I always like to remind you that. But be honest with me. If okay, what percentage out of 100 was my influence on your success? If you really had to think about it.
I will say this on my initial success when we first met, um, maybe a good like 30% when we
Yeah.
were meeting, because you'd opened your business a little bit before I'd opened mine. You had your community already. So it definitely, I think, as a brand new business owner back in 2010, a decade ago, a lot of the stuff you said made sense to me. I looked up to you. So I definitely think some of that early success absolutely came from you. The success I've seen since then, I think a lot of that is due to me, but my hard work and my team. But I think with some of the foundational stuff up front, absolutely. I even remember a conversation, I don't even know if you remember it, I'm sure you don't, at Albany CrossFit, like a few weeks into knowing each other, when we were talking about the pricing for my packages, and we had single sessions, 5 class passes and 10 class passes, and the savings for a 5 pass and a 10 pass was the same. And you said to me it shouldn't be. You were like, make the 10 pass a little bit bigger savings because people will be more likely to buy the 10 pass instead of the 5. And I changed it like that day or the next day, and that's still the price of the 5 and 10 pass to this day. How about that?
Well, my next piece of advice is you need to increase your rates if they're the same after 10 years. But, well, let's be clear. That 30%, you don't become the entrepreneur that you are now. Like all continued success, my 30% reigns over. So I don't know if you're going to just send a check or you want
I
to do
mean,
Venmo or however
I
you want to
mean,
do it.
my studios have been closed for the last 5 months. So if you want to contribute 30% back to me right now as like an overseas, that would be great. But
Well, and let's talk about it because that's really, you and I could have many discussions on entrepreneurship. You've truly become a tremendous entrepreneur. I mean, I remember Caleb and our two girlfriends at the time. We go
yeah,
to the little yoga studio on Fuller. It was all Fuller, right across from the
yeah,
was it
right now.
Stuyvesant Plaza, right?
Yep.
And we take this class. You were the teacher. I still, by the way, I would love for you to send me the mix you used to play.
Okay, I could try to find it for you.
You got me into two bands that I remember from your list that always remind you of your song of you. Death Cab for Cute. What's the name of that band? Death Cab for Cutie. Oh, great. Jess froze. Right in the middle of me asking an important question. I'll give her a second to chime back in. Actually, I think it's my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi just bounced. What is happening? All right. Slight technical difficulty, but we're back. My Wi-Fi crapped out. You still there, Jess?
You're, yeah, you just froze for a second, but
Man, Wi-Fi is life these days. More important
great.
than oxygen. But what I was asking you, I was telling you, what was the name of that band? Death Cab for Cutie?
Death Cab for Cutie. Yeah, they're one of my
And
favorites.
yeah, that song, I will, I
Possess
will,
Your Heart.
I will visit. And then there was another one by Dashboard Confessional they used to play.
I don't know. I love both of those bands. I don't
That's
know.
because you're
Oh,
a millennial. That's a very good
I know.
millennial band.
I bet it was Warmth of the Sand. I know both of those two songs used to be on my playlist when I was like first starting out. Maybe I'll
You,
make you a best of millennials mix. Maybe I'll make you a mixtape like a real millennial. Mail it to you.
No, but those songs very much remind me of your classes. And, I remember the first few times we were in, it was literally the four of us, and we would go to Chipotle after. Like, that was my first experience with Chipotle. But I don't remember what it was. I think at the time you were like the only place doing anything with heat, first
Yeah.
of all. And I was just like, man, oh, and you were like running a bar, a substitute teacher.
Yep.
And I was just like, you got to do this full time. Like, you got to go. I mean, I wrote my book, and the first chapter is go all in. And that was basically what I was encouraging you to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And and it was hard because I remember we even had that conversation, and I was like, well, I can't leave bartending. Bartending is really good money. Like, and I enjoy it. It's fun. It's easy. It's great money. I can't leave it. And you were like, you need to leave bartending. Like, you need to throw yourself into this 100%. And I remember, I think it was another conversation I had with you at one point where you were like, you're either working in your business or you're working on your business. And that kind of like resonated with me too, because I feel like early on, I taught every class myself. I was really like the face of the business. I mean, I still am the face of the business, but in a different way. But I was always teaching. And as we grew with more locations, I was teaching at the second location was Clifton Park. I was teaching there and the Albany one. And it just got to the stage where, I'd be about to teach a class and the phone would ring and we'd have a new client that wanted to ask questions, but I couldn't really help them because I had the studio of people waiting for me. Or I'd be going in to teach a class and somebody wants to meet me at a different studio and talk about stuff, or the heater at the different studio wasn't working, all these things. So it really, it was helpful advice to just kind of not do that day-to-day part of the business, so I could be a little bit more behind the scenes working and focusing on that stuff that needed my attention as we grew.
Well, and like I was going to say earlier, the point of this conversation is you and I have been talking offline and just the impact of everything going on in the world, the pandemic, the quarantine. So I want to find out what that's been like for you, but to show people your success, kind of what's the rundown of your businesses currently?
So for the hot yoga spot, we have 5 locations. They all closed in early to mid March, and they've been closed ever since. So it's been really challenging. I mean, I have some other businesses as well. I own Bear, which is a juice bar, which has remained open this whole time. Thankfully, we're doing more locations. It's really exciting. It's going really well. And then I co-own with Kayla, CrossFit for the People. That has been closed since mid-March as well. So, it's hard because out of all the businesses that I own, the large majority of them are fitness, hot yoga and then CrossFit. And that is the industry that has been impacted arguably the hardest in this whole situation, especially in the state of New York, because fitness remains closed right now. Whereas most of the other states have started opening up, lifting restrictions a little bit for fitness. For some reason, New York is just keeping fitness indefinitely closed. So that's obviously been really challenging and continues to be challenging every single day.
So in New York right now, fitness is basically closed indefinitely, right? There's no end date in sight right now.
No, so what happened, there were 4 phases planned for New York. And when all of the phases were announced, fitness was in phase 4, which already I thought was ridiculous, as did a lot of fitness business owners in this area. I talk to a bunch of them on a regular basis now, and we all thought that was ridiculous because we can be distant in a yoga studio, in a CrossFit gym, in a kickboxing place, just like you can in, a Target or a Chipotle or a Home Depot. And for us to not have that right didn't seem fair. I think we could do it just as safely, but we all patiently waited for phase 4 to come. And then days before phase 4, after I had spent thousands of dollars buying UVC sanitation lamps, HEPA purifiers, all sorts of stuff like that, the governor pulled fitness out of phase 4 after 2 months of waiting, thinking that we were part of it, and has been quoted saying that, after that happened, that all the phases are done, everything's open, that's going to be open. So fitness business owners are led to believe that there's not a plan in place for us. He hasn't mentioned working on anything for us. So it's been challenging. And I think it's really unfair because when you take every type of fitness business out there and just lump us all together, there's a lot of flaws in that system. I know as a hot yoga studio, we don't use an HVAC system. And the big concern with fitness is that the HVAC is going to move the air particles around. We don't even use an HVAC in our studio. We vent directly through the roof and bring fresh air in, and the air in the room leaves. So we don't use an HVAC. We can really space people out. We don't have, no shared props, no shared weights, no moving station to station. So to lump us in with other forms of fitness that might be more problematic and a little riskier isn't fair. Same thing with CrossFit. I mean, most CrossFits are in a gym. They don't have an HVAC system. CrossFit for the People has an entire wall that's made up of 8 garage doors. You're basically outside when you're inside there, and they're not allowed to function for the same reason I'm not. And it just doesn't make sense. So I think lumping all fitness into this one broad category and then arbitrarily leaving us closed is really unfair. And it seems really that what makes you most likely to get really sick from COVID is problems related to obesity. So hypertension, diabetes, all of these issues that come from being overweight make you more likely to die from this pandemic And the one thing that remains closed indefinitely in New York State is fitness. I mean, I don't know who's making these decisions, but it seems flawed.
Yeah, I mean, I think something I've spoken about recently is there's all these pushes for masks and social distancing, and I think it's all very important, but no one's talking about, hey, let's get healthy.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know how that's not a bigger topic right now. And don't get me wrong, I wear a mask every time I leave the house, and I'm not going anywhere I don't need to go. So those things are very important. And obviously in the, short term, that's what you can do right away to make yourself safer, like today, this minute, this hour. But long term, what will make you safer? What will make you healthier? And that's being a healthier person. That's being active, that's eating right, that's living, the type of lifestyle that disposes you to being healthier in general. That's what's going to make you healthier in a pandemic as well. And like you said, nobody's really talking about that. And the fact that fitness remains closed unnecessarily just kind of supports that fact even more. Like nobody is thinking about the bigger issue at play here.
What do you think? Ackerman Fuller 2020?
I'm in, but I'm the president. You could be my beef, but I'm in.
Fuller Ackerman, I don't want all that responsibility anyway. I'll take it. So let's kind of walk through it chronologically. The when did you kind of get word even before the shutdowns, like, hey, there's something going on that's like a little like there's a disease floating around? Because for me, I don't follow the news. We've
Yeah.
just gone back from Wadapalooza, so late February, and I remember thinking, like, at that time I was like, okay, what's happening in the world?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely like late January, early February. Like you started to hear about it, and this is terrible, but it didn't seem like it. I mean, you heard something was happening, but it didn't seem like a problem I would be thinking about. I was really worried about. It seemed so far removed from us. And one lesson that I've kind of taken from this is that somebody else's problem is your problem. If you are a good person, if you're the type of person who wants to be proactive about things, because I remember first hearing about this and thinking like, this is a problem on the other side of the world. It sounds terrible, but this is not my problem.
And
And
this is China's problem.
I mean, unfortunately, yeah. And this situation has been such an eye opener to if there's a problem in the world, something important going on, you need to treat it like it's your problem because it might end up being your problem. So that's kind of one thing I've taken out of this. So yeah, I had first heard about it and kind of knew it was going on months and months before, but you know, really realizing that, imminently this might become something that's happening here was probably like late February, very early March. We closed on the 16th, but there were probably 2 weeks before we closed where every single day I woke up and was like, do I stay open? Do I close? What is happening with my business? What is happening with my community? So even, I'd say a good 2 to 3 weeks before we actually closed, it started to become like a very pressing issue, something that was taking up most of my time and most of my thought, just figuring out what was the right thing to do for my business, for my community, and for like the greater good.
When you realized that and you were getting closer and closer to realizing they're going to do some sort of pause or shutdown, how were you feeling as an entrepreneur about that? I was outspoken in the sense that I said, guys, we got to shut down. And now
Yeah,
I had no skin in the game. I don't own any brick and mortars right now.
yeah,
So it was probably a little easy for me to say, right? But
yeah,
I also have made it clear, like, I didn't expect it to be going on for I was like 2 weeks for shutting down. How did
yeah.
you feel about that?
So I actually made the decision to shut down. We closed on a Monday. Monday morning, the governor came out and said every fitness business has to close. We were closed before some other industries were, but he stated that on Monday morning. I had decided that Sunday afternoon that we were going to close. So I had come to the decision on my own. Like you said, I thought we were talking 2 weeks. I thought 2 weeks was probably unrealistic. That's kind of what they were putting out there. But in my mind, it was like, this is probably going to be a solid month of being closed. But I'd come to that realization. For me, it was hard in the weeks that led up to it. I kept thinking, there are so many people in my community that need hot yoga. Like physically, they're in pain without it. Like this is how they stay sane mentally. This is their only time they get for themselves during the day. So I was spending every single minute, basically, of every single day trying to weigh the pros and cons of staying open to serve people that need it right now to feel better, to stay sane versus the negative con of like, okay, what if I stay open and then somebody comes and ends up getting sick or they were sick and they get somebody else sick? So it was really hard leading up to it, just figuring out what the right thing is to do and how can I best serve not only my clients, but just the area where I live and the community at large. So it was really difficult. But like I said, I'd come to the decision that we did have to temporarily close that Sunday. It was really scary. And at this point, I thought it was more than 2 weeks, but definitely probably around a month. And it was really scary because I have 6 brick and mortar fitness businesses in New York State that are all going to now not have customers coming in every day. And, keep in mind, I've been doing this for a decade. We don't close. The hot yoga spot is open 365 days a year. We're open on Christmas. We have class on New Year's, on Easter. One of the things that makes the hot yoga spot so great is and one of the reasons why we are open all those days is because if you don't have a community, if you live alone, if you don't have a lot of family, if you need a way on a holiday morning to release your stress before your family comes over, like we are that option for you. If on Thanksgiving you don't have a big family, you can come spend time with us and be part of something. So I really pride myself and drive the studio on being there for people every single day of the year, every single day of their life when they need it. So for a business like mine that's been open for 10 years and never taken a holiday, the idea of now like voluntarily shutting down for 2 weeks, but maybe longer, was really scary just from the standpoint of my business. And, I've been doing this because the business is open every day. I have been involved with this business every single day, answering the calls, putting the schedule up online, stuff like that. So it was hard for me, professionally, and then even just personally. Like I had a newborn. So at this point, Hazel was 3 months old. I have a 3.5-year-old. So just, personally knowing that my business is a large part of the income for my family. I have 2 kids. I have a husband. Like, what does this normal look like for us now where my studios aren't open and I still have expenses for all of them? What does it look like for me on a personal level with all of the teachers who are part of my team who, a lot of them have other jobs, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them teach full time, 20 classes a week. Large majority of their income is coming from the studio. So it was multifaceted in the way that it worried me. And it was very challenging professionally, personally. It was a really hard decision to make. And then the next day, when I was actually writing the email that Monday morning, letting people know that the studios were going to be closed. And as I was writing it, I was almost finished like proofing it. In the background, the TV was on, and the governor was saying that fitness had to be closed by that evening. So the timing worked out well, but I just included, details about the governor's mandate and that this was now something we were going to have to do. But it was really scary, and it continues to be scary now, 5 months later, every single day. So
it's crazy to think back in late February, March, that come August, we're still in the midst of this. I mean, and like you mentioned, I assume on your list of importance, it goes something like Jason, kids, Fuller, your husband, the studio. So luckily for you, you had our friendship to fall back on, but you had your family. I mean, point is, there are plenty of entrepreneurs out there that like, they don't have an identity outside of their gym. I mean, I'm sure your family, is more important to you than the studio. So you have them and a newborn to lean on and to take care of. But yeah, for so many people, it's like when we talk about mental health, it's like it's that as well. Like, hey, you're shutting down these fitness facilities because of the clear health impacts that it could have, but there are other health implications you're not thinking about. Like you said,
sure.
I mean, you don't have to give names, obviously, but I know, having gone to your studio, there are men and women there that without that hour or hour and a half of hot yoga, they're going to fall apart.
Yeah. And it's been so hard. And I've talked to many of them, and just, anybody I know that the studio is a big part of their life, they're there on a regular basis, they've been a member for a long time. I'm trying to reach out, send an email when I can, or just, message them on Instagram, let them know I'm thinking about them. But it's hard because, like you said, I mean, I have clients who were like on death's door before they discovered hot yoga. They were overweight, or they had some serious health issues going on. They had chronic pain. They, mentally were going through divorce, or had lost a job, or just, all these struggles. And I'm so grateful that hot yoga and the studio, the hot yoga spot, has been able to help them over these years. But now as a business owner, I feel so sad that we've not been able to help them during the last few months. So
Don't
it's been
cry.
really
No crying
challenging.
I'm the only one that cries on this show, Jess.
I'm
I'm
gonna
the only.
cry this whole time. This is a very emotional subject for me. But it's hard to know that in this situation, I almost feel like I failed them, and I know I didn't because there was literally nothing I could do about it. But this is the time when people need this outlet. They need this community. They need these wellness options more than anything. And we like vanished overnight. And we're doing the online stuff completely for free. I think people have loved that, but it's not the same. And it's been hard to not be able to connect with the community right now. And like you said, I have a great family, and I tell my husband every single day, if it weren't for him and our kids, I would not be able to get through this because it's been so scary and so challenging. But a lot of people don't have that, and it makes me so sad that we are not there physically for them right now in person.
So, knowing what you know now about COVID, would you open up?
Yes, I think that we should open up, and I think it's really unfair and it's really arbitrary that the state is not allowing us to open up. Like I said, being healthy is the best chance you have at, first of all, not getting COVID. Second of all, if you get it, not getting as sick from it, not dying from it. So taking away fitness options for people, is so short-sighted. I don't understand what the long play is here, but for a disease that's impacting people that are not living healthy lifestyles, to take away access to options that help you live a healthy lifestyle doesn't make sense to me. So I think from that aspect, fitness should be open. I don't know why, if restaurants and retail can exist safely at 50% capacity, we can't also have that option. And I've said this to a million customers, friends, just in conversation. In New York State, you're allowed to go out to eat and sit shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people that you don't live with, take off your masks and share appetizers and get drunk and, dance and whatever at your table. Why can't you go to a yoga class with those same people that you don't live with, set your mat up 10 feet apart from each other and take a class? It doesn't make sense. And
It's crazy. It
it's
really is crazy
crazy.
now that you say it.
Like, it's crazy. If they were mandating, if restaurants were out of the picture and you could only be inside a place with a mask on, that would be one thing. But restaurants and indoor dining have been open in my state for 4 to 6 weeks, maybe longer. And you get to your table, and the rule is wear a mask to your table and then take your mask off. But you don't have to go out to eat with your family. You can go with your friends. You can go with coworkers, people that you don't live with. You're not in like the germ circle with. So why is it safe to literally sit at a booth with these people, but not go take a yoga class where we can put your mat 6 feet apart, 10 feet apart, however far we have to do it to meet regulations? We can do that. How is that not equally as safe, if not much safer, being that much further apart from people and not getting drunk, not letting, because once you're drunk, you're not going to maintain the distance, you're going to forget the mask. And it's insane to me that business owners, fitness business owners, we're not even getting a chance right now to survive. And luckily the hot yoga spot's been open for 10 years. So I have 10 years worth of savings that I'm relying on right now. But there's a lot of fitness businesses that opened in the last few years that don't have that. Like, these businesses are going to perish if something doesn't change soon. And it's difficult because every day that the governor and the state doesn't let us open, it vilifies us. It makes us seem scary. It makes us seem inherently more dangerous when we're not. And once we finally are allowed to reopen, more people are going to be afraid to come back because of how much longer they made us stay closed. They're making us seem a lot scarier and a lot more dangerous than we are. And it's arbitrary that we're still just from co-owning a CrossFit, and just from a few friends I have in the area that still own CrossFits, just conversations with them. More members have canceled memberships in the last few weeks since we were pulled out of phase 4 than the entire 4 months prior. Because all of a sudden it seems like we're never reopening. And it's really scary for the business owner and for the members who were trying to hold on and trying to keep paying and trying to support. It gets to a stage where you start to wonder, what are you supporting?
Well,
And
yeah,
just,
and it's not just that stigma of being dangerous, which obviously help, you know, companies are not, but it's also in the meantime, these members are figuring out how to do it without you.
yeah.
So it's how many of them are then you're gonna reopen. How many are like, oh, well, I've got my Peloton or I've got my
Yep.
yoga online. By the way, what's your yoga site so people can check it out if they want to do that right now?
Yeah, the Hot Yoga Spot on demand, they can find it if they just go to the hotyogaspot.com. It's right on the top of the website.
$20 for a
$20.
month of yoga. They can use the code. What's my code again?
Ackerman. It's very hard for you to remember, I know.
So the code Ackerman gives them. So if you want $10 for unlimited yoga and
Yeah,
to support,
bar, meditation, mini workshops. We have almost 400 videos on there, and they're all like great quality. They're all really different. We have some yoga for CrossFit on there. We have all sorts of cool stuff. So highly recommend.
yeah, you guys did a really good job. I mean, it looks very professional. It looks, I mean, I have the Peloton app. It's
Yeah,
as good as the Peloton app. And
I'm a very professional gal. What can I
you've
say?
got some good looking instructors too. So if you guys want to check, both men and women, by the way. So if you guys want to just watch a good looking person do yoga, if that's your fetish, $10 a month is cheaper than some of the other sites out there.
There you go. You're
So
welcome.
so what really has struck a nerve with me lately is, and you don't have to give this specific number, but you told me like the number you're paying in rent is outrageous, and you're not even allowed to be open.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what the question is, but it just strikes me as just completely ignorant of the government to be like, you're shut down. You can no longer make money, but they're not doing anything to say you don't have to pay rent for these companies that we're not allowing you to run.
Yeah. It's been it's been really surprising. And I think even a lot of clients, a lot of members, if you don't own a business right now, you just don't understand what's going on. A lot of my members who I've spoken to are like, when they find out I'm still paying rent, they're like, oh, I just assumed that you didn't have to pay rent because you were shut down by the government. And I was like, no, that's not the way it works. I have the 6 locations. Every single one of them I have been paying rent for every single month. And it's a large number. I won't give the
Full
exact
rent, full rent.
full rent. Yeah. One of my landlords in Saratoga was really nice. He let me do a little bit less for a few months, and one of the other ones gave me a small discount for 1 month. But other than that, completely full. And we're going on 5 months now. So my monthly rent for these 6 locations is more than most people's mortgage payments for an entire year, more than my mortgage payment for an entire year. And I have a fairly nice house. So I'm paying a year's worth of mortgage payments look like every single month out of my personal savings account, just hoping that we'll be allowed to open at some point soon and start to recoup some of these losses. But as a business owner, the fact that the government has shut fitness down first, fitness is one of the only industries in my state that remains closed, and we're getting no support is so disappointing. And for any business, once we were shut down, and I know everybody made a big deal out of it because they were doing mortgage forgiveness for 3 months. So a lot of people assume that meant that business owners didn't have to pay their bills for 3 months. But I think what most people don't realize is that business owners don't have a mortgage, they have rent. It's totally different. 99% of business owners don't own the space that they're occupying, they're renting it. So that mortgage forgiveness doesn't help us. If I don't pay my rent, not only do I go in default on my lease, which means that the landlord can take away rights from me, they can stop me from opening if we ever get the opportunity to reopen. So not only is that an issue, but I've also personally guaranteed every single one of my leases, which is something that's required to be in a nice shopping center. Normally you have personal guarantees. So even if my business doesn't open, I personally myself have guaranteed to pay my rent. So that means if I don't, they can come after my assets, my home, my money in my bank account, stuff like that. So, people keep saying to me, smart people that care about me, that I usually go to for advice, are telling me like, oh, just close the business, just, stop paying rent, start paying it again when you reopen. And it just is really showing me that right now business owners are kind of in this situation alone because other people just don't get it. We don't have that option. And the fact that the government, it would be really easy, not really easy, but the state on some level or the government on some level could say, if you're mandated to be closed right now, you don't start paying rent again until you reopen. And maybe that means if you're closed 5 months, 5 months is added to the back of your lease. Maybe that means that if we're not paying rent right now, the government is supplementing our rent payments to the landlords themselves, who are also small business owners. I get that. But the fact that we are closed and without options and nobody seems to care. And I personally reached out to one of my landlords actually in Stuyvesant Plaza, and I asked them for relief, and they they were not eager to do it for me and ended up not doing it for me. And that was really disappointing because I've been a tenant there for 10 years. And I expected, it's hard. I felt very isolated in different ways in a situation. And I know I'm not. I know that other business owners are facing the exact same issues that I am. But as a business owner right now, just people, you almost feel like people don't understand what you're up against. And it doesn't really look like there's a lot of solutions in sight or on the horizon. So it is really challenging. And that's definitely one of them. Instead of these ridiculous PPP loans, they should have figured out what businesses closed actually needed, where the support should be going, and doing it from that standpoint. And even the PPP loan was really flawed because it was designed to, do you know about the PPP loan? Do you know like how it worked?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
looked at it.
Yeah. So it was designed to support payroll expenses, so that you didn't have to fire a bunch of people, which is great. However, a lot of the industries hit hardest don't have a big payroll. Fitness, for instance, a lot of fitness businesses use contractors instead of employees. So your payroll is zero. Same thing for a lot of people in like the entertainment industry, photographers, videographers, stuff like that. That industry was hit really hard. So the PPP, and you didn't have to show any loss of income. So I know business owners who I'm friends with that have been open this entire time that got six-figure PPP loans. And I know business owners like myself and other fitness business owners that didn't qualify for anything or qualified for almost nothing. So it's, even the way that they gave funding out was not set up in a way to benefit the people that really needed it. It should have been based on if your industry's closed, how long it's been closed, if you could prove loss of income, how big loss did you have? Because the fact that businesses that are open were able to get a lot and a lot of businesses closed were able to get nothing. Not only is it challenging for the business owners that got nothing, but it also, the public that doesn't own a business thinks that business owners are okay right now. They think we're not paying rent. They think we all got, $500,000 loans. And that's just not the case. Every business owner I know right now is really worried and really struggling. And it feels like nobody really understands that.
I think the best thing you said is, if the government shuts down your business, they need to then go the next step and say, okay, you don't need to pay rent. I mean, look, I'm sure for those that don't know, Stuyvesant Plaza is this like beautiful outdoor plaza. And I don't know, maybe like someone owns that land,
Oh,
but
yeah.
whether, they're paying their mortgage still. So I understand like they need to get their covered. So then we'd have to go to the next step, like, hey, now your
Yeah.
mortgage is getting delayed as well. And I understand the complications of that. It just seems really unfair of the government to shut down a business and then say, I mean, they're forcing, I mean, I know dozens of CrossFits that have closed. And, you know, if you weren't so successful over the last 10 years, not only would you be closing, you'd be then in default of your mortgage. And then, even if you didn't have savings, they'd come after you personally as well. I mean, it can literally put someone on the streets.
Oh, very quickly. Yeah. I mean, I've been open 10 years and it's a slippery slope between where I was 5 months ago to where I am now. And every month it's more and more money out of the savings. And like, especially if you're in a center where you have a personal guarantee, even if I close the hot yoga spot, I have to hope, and that's not the plan, the hot yoga spot. The plan is we're still going to be here and we're going to keep fighting. But if I had to close the hot yoga spot, I have to cross my fingers and hope that the landlords don't decide to sue me for my personal guarantee and then take the money out of my personal accounts and out of my home and out of my savings, because that's an option they have and that they're going to have with most fitness business owners. If you're in a plaza, you've probably signed something like that, and there's no recourse for it. And it's really unfortunate that there isn't that government level support, because that's the only way it can work. Because like I said, I have 6 different landlords. Every single one is doing different. Some have given me not 1 cent off. I've paid in full every month. One of them gave me 1 month free. One of them gave me like 10% off the entire time. One of them gave me 2 weeks free, which was right at the start of this, which sounded really nice. But now 5 months later, I'm like, this is,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
all these discounts are great, but not when you're shut down.
Right. And so it's hard because it's almost like the Wild West out there. Like the landlords are doing whatever they want, the tenants are doing whatever they want. Like if there was an actual mandate or, something, we can expect this to happen, this is what should be happening, it would at least make it easier. And I feel like we were all in the same boat. But I know friends that own fitness businesses. We have this group chat going right now. There's like 10 of us in the capital region that own different types of fitness businesses. We're talking every day about our experiences and brainstorming. And some of them are like, I have amazing landlords. They haven't made me pay rent at all. It's been great. Others are threatening, eviction, even if they have paid rent, just because they want to work out and use the parking lot to do outdoor classes. And the landlord's like, if you work out in that parking lot once, you're out of here. I'm changing your locks. So every landlord and every tenant is having a really different situation, and it just makes it really hard. There's no unifying force that's kind of setting the precedent and setting the expectations that we all know how to move forward.
And also, I mean, from a government level, every state is treating it differently. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Colorado, gyms are open again. Now you have to wear a mask. Like even at jiu-jitsu, they're wearing masks while they're training.
Yeah.
So which is a little laughable in itself. Like we're sweating. I mean, I'm not going currently, but
Yeah.
they're sweating on top of each other, but they're wearing masks. So it's like the government, and I get it. There's probably, I mean, we understand yoga and CrossFit and whatnot, but there's plenty of businesses we don't understand. So I
Yeah.
get that it's probably challenging for the government to throw out rules for every different business, but all it would take is like hire one person that understands the industry a little. Like bring me
I
on.
said that so many times because I'm getting into fights with people like, how is our governor Cuomo not addressing this? He's arbitrarily closing
It looks
thousands of
like he
businesses.
works out too, so it's not like he's completely ignorant to this thing.
I'm sure he's still working out, even though we're not allowed to. But he, just like he was still getting haircuts the whole time, even when barbershops were closed. But anyway,
Yeah, look at
he.
my hair. Look at this. No haircut here.
I kept saying if Cuomo was smart, he would come out looking like Tom Hanks
Yeah,
in Castaway with like the hair all over the place and a
just
bandana.
yeah, look disheveled.
Yeah, but anyway, so I keep, because people keep saying like now it's close to back to school, Cuomo has to focus all of his attention on that, and I was like, I get it. Back to school is incredibly important. Literally hire 2 or 3 people for like a 5-hour brainstorm session. Get somebody that knows yoga, somebody that
That's
knows
all it
golf.
would take. It's not even a full-time job. It's like
You could literally, he could find people on his team, one person that happens to do each of these fitnesses as a hobby, get them in a room for 2 hours and say, okay, if you're yoga, these are your regulations. If you're spinning, these are your regulations. If you're
he'd be able to pull in like
it's
the CEO of Peloton and the CEO of
2
Equinox if
seconds.
he wanted
Yeah,
to.
from Soul Cycle, and all
Uh,
these people would fall over themselves for the opportunity to help get fitness reopened. It's just not a priority. They don't care. And it's so apparent and it's upsetting because you have thousands of New Yorkers, I'd argue hundreds of thousands when you look at the thousands of fitness businesses closed and then all of the people that work for them that rely on this form of small business to survive, to pay for health insurance, to buy groceries, to have a roof over their head. So it's upsetting for that reason because the state and all these states where they
Technical
the less
difficulties.
healthy you
There
are.
she is.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, yeah, you chopped up for a second.
Yeah.
Repeat that last about 10 seconds of what you were saying.
Yeah, so I was just saying it's difficult because, financially, professionally, you have all these people that rely on small fitness businesses, the owners and the people that work there that have no support from their state right now. So that's really challenging. But it's also challenging because on a bigger level, this global pandemic, the longer you have fitness closed, the less healthy people are going to be. Like, what's the end game there?
I mean,
You're holding back this resource from them.
I agree with you on that too, because as someone who is a part of the quarantine when it happened, like my training shit the bed to some extent. I was going from training at a box and going to jiu-jitsu daily to having to figure out how to train in our apartment's extra bedroom. And I'm someone who understands fitness, creativity when it comes to workouts. So you can imagine mom who had to muster up the energy every day to get to a gym.
Yeah.
She's not like, oh, I'm gonna go run a 5K. She's like,
No.
I'm gonna watch, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy for 8 hours. So
That's the issue because, and for me as a fitness business owner, it's scary because, like you said, you're somebody that understands fitness, how to move your body, how to be creative. I've owned a yoga studio for 10 years. I've been an active participant in CrossFit for 4 years, including up until the day I gave birth to both of my children. So, fitness and being active has been a very important part of my lifestyle for a very long time. I'm working out in my basement. I'm doing, WODs outside and running around my cul-de-sac and bringing the weights out. I'm doing yoga in the basement. Like, I'm still doing it. And I can admit that the workouts I'm doing in my home, they're not as intense as the ones you do at the gym, as the ones you do in the studio, because you're by yourself. It's harder to get motivated. I'm still doing it every day, and I'm grateful and proud of that. But most people, a lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't, they might not have the space to do it. They might not have the equipment to do it. They might not have the understanding of, their body and fitness to do it. So a lot of people are so out of the habit of working out right now, which is terrifying as a fitness business owner, because the hardest part about getting members at your gym is getting them in the habit of coming to your gym. Once somebody's taken hot yoga every day for a month, they're going to come forever because they know it feels great. They know how they look, how their personality, their body, they know how good it is for them. But once somebody hasn't done it in 5 months, it's going to be so much harder to get that person to come back and try it again. So the fact that like every day we're closed is more and more people that are just going to forget how much they enjoyed it and be resistant to coming back and trying it again, or they're not going to think they have time for it anymore. Even financially, they're not going to be able to afford it anymore because they've lost their job, or their kids aren't at school, so they don't have childcare anymore. There's so many reasons why people are not going to be able to get back to fitness already as it is. And then physically closing our businesses and stopping us from opening, it's added on top of that.
Yeah, let's also point out you hated CrossFit for a long time. Now you've been doing it. Now you own one, which is crazy. But that's another podcast. So from a distance, through the rumor mill, I hear there are some gyms in the Albany area that have stayed open. You don't have to say their names. That's not what people are doing. What's stopping you from just being like, F this?
Honestly, every day I consider saying F this and opening up. So it's hard. I've had long talks with Kayla, who is my partner for CrossFit for the People, because we closed right away. We shut down. And like you said, there are a lot of businesses in this area that haven't. There are a lot of gyms all over. I know of yoga and, gym owners in Long Island, New York City that are still open, other states that stay open the whole time. So it's really hard when you see these other people not doing it to do it yourself. So I remember Kayla and I, after we were pulled out of phase 4 and we were talking about what to do for CrossFit for the People, we were like, do we open? Do we not open? And at that point, we were able to start doing outdoor classes at the gym, but, right outside instead of inside. So technically allowed to do it, totally fine, started doing it. And she said, because I was asking her, I was like, what do you think I should do for the studio? Because I don't have the answers anymore. In 10 years of owning a business, I always felt like I had the answer. I could make an educated guess. I could base it off an experience or something I did in a different situation. But this is such uncharted territory for me. We've never been in this experience before, in this situation. So I'm relying on the opinion and advice of people that I trust, people that I know, people that are a big part of the studio, my family. So I was talking to her and I was like, what should I be doing right now? And she was like, honestly, like, it was one thing when fitness was phase 4. We waited 2 months for it to come. And, she's like, it sucked me waiting 2 months to open CrossFit for the People again. But, we had an end date in sight. We had a plan in sight. So we were like, we'll just do that. We'll wait. That's what will make everybody feel better. But then when you get pulled out of that and it becomes clear that nobody is, the governor hasn't ever mentioned fitness again. He hasn't said he's working on a plan for us. He's exploring options. She was like, honestly, this is different. When you had a date in mind and you had a plan in place, waiting made sense. Now there's not one in place. So you have to ask yourself what exactly you're waiting for. And I've been asking myself that and evaluating the options. And I'd be lying to you if I said I don't think about reopening every single day. I haven't yet, but I'm at a stage where I almost think I'm doing more harm than good right now by being open, because every other business is open. So many other businesses have been open again for so long that people are not even taking proper restrictions with them anymore. Places that used to require the mask all the time and
back to normal,
things on the floor, right? They're almost back to normal. Whereas at my business, if we reopen, I can guarantee you those floors are going to be marked. There's going to be hand sanitizer like falling from the ceilings. There's going to be like so many precautions in place. And the people that need my business, that have physically depended on it mentally, emotionally for years, I'm not serving them right now the way I could. And I honestly can't tell you why anymore. Like, I had this conversation with somebody that owns the float center that, right next door to me at one of my locations. He and I were talking a few weeks ago, and he was like, honestly, when business owners closed in March, we all closed to flatten the curve. That was why we closed. We all did it. We all jumped on board. It was for the greater good. We were all closing. We were all flattening the curve so that hospitals could catch up, so that resources, PPE could be manufactured, sanitizer could get stocked on the shelves again. We were all closing. It was planned on 2 weeks so that everybody could catch up, and then we could treat this thing the way we needed to. He was like, business owners never agreed to close forever. This was never the plan. The plan wasn't let's close our business until COVID is gone. Like COVID-19 is part of our culture now. It's not going away. A lot of people are going to get it. I mean, it's like the flu. It's like anything else. You're going to get it. You're going to build up antibodies. So now, especially in New York State, our curve is as flat as it gets. It is a flat line. Why is any business still closed? That wasn't the agreement. If we're closed right now until COVID-19 disappears, I might as well turn in my keys now, because COVID-19 is not going away. They're working on a vaccine. They're working on antibody tests. I get it. But we closed to flatten the curve. The curve is flat. We should be able to reopen, especially when every other industry is reopened. So honestly, at this point, knowing how much people need fitness, how many people depend on my studio to feel okay, to live the type of life, the quality of life that they need to, I ask myself that question every single day. And the answer is harder and harder to find. And that's just being honest. I don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but honestly, I can't tell you why we're still closed. I can't tell you anymore that I think it's the right thing to do. And I don't fault the business owners who have opened. If they're doing it safely, if they're maintaining the guidelines set by the CDC and the state of New York for how far apart you should be, when you should wear a mask, when you should wash your hands, if they're following those same guidelines that they're enforcing at Target and restaurants and Lowe's and all these other stores, if they're following those, I don't fault them for it at all.
No, I agree with you. I think it'd be one thing if we're like, hey, we're flattening the curve and we've realized we need to stay shut down as a state.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense to me that A, the curve has been flattened, and B, if you're that worried about it still, I just don't understand the idea of restaurants are okay.
Yeah.
Target is okay. Target, I get, you can stay distant. I've gone out to shop and they have plastic at the cashier stuff. They do a lot of, I hope it stays like this for the most part, because I don't want to see people, to be honest. But I mean, I haven't gone to a restaurant. Or Disney World opened.
Which is crazy.
Come on, I mean, exactly.
Living in New York State, the Statue of Liberty announced the other day they're reopening. In what Twilight Zone universe is the Statue of Liberty safer than the hot yoga spot?
Right, you have to either take a very narrow staircase
with
or an
no
elevator.
Flow, no fresh air, 100,000 million touch points that a million people are going to be touching at all times, or the hot yoga spot where we can put 10 people in a studio built for 50, have them all 10 feet away from each other, have no HVAC unit running the entire time. Like it's insane to me that this is what we're being told and this is what people are believing. It's crazy. And like you said, if restaurants and bars weren't open, I probably would feel differently. But I don't understand how it's safe to sit shoulder to shoulder without a mask on with people you don't live near or you don't live with, but to not work out nowhere near them. It just doesn't make sense.
Our guy that's on the podcast regularly, Todd, we did an episode recently. He got COVID. He got it by going out to dinner with his best friends.
Yeah.
Just 2 couples dating, and he's like, I did everything right, and I still got it. We shared food because I didn't know you had it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could take it a step further. You could do a thermometer check. Especially if you're only letting 10 people in per class, you're not overwhelmed at the front desk. The instructor can walk around. You can do all that. It's mind blowing to me, which is why I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I keep making the joke that I should just open, but serve food at the end of class. And then we'd be fine, because apparently you can't get it if you're sitting down eating. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. It almost, to me, is are they saying it's you can't get it if you're drinking, if you're eating? How can
That's not a bad
Right? I
idea.
could
Why
just
don't you
serve
just,
mozzarella sticks at every meal, or like give everybody that comes a bag of potato chips and pretend I'm a
yeah, well,
restaurant.
no, give them a smoothie. Like, hey, you're paying $15 for a smoothie. You get a free yoga class with it, by the way.
That's interesting.
Why don't you do
Yeah.
that? That's a
Yeah. And here's the other thing that I also think is ridiculous. There is no industry that is more able to track and trace who has been there than fitness.
right. You're checking in.
Right. Reservations mandatory. When you sign up online, you put in your name, your phone number, your address, your email address. So, if somebody was sick, if some, let's say in an alternate parallel universe, the hot yoga spot is open right now. Somebody comes and takes a class, and it turns out they had COVID, and they notify me. I can, in about 3 seconds, look in that person's visit history, find out every single class they took, find out every single person that was in that class with them, including the teachers, and have them all notified. All of that within probably a minute. You can't do that at restaurants. You can't do that at shopping, retail, dog food. So you can't do that in any industry for the most part, except for fitness. We can track and trace who was in the building when they were in the building more easily than any other industry. How come that is not working in our favor right now?
Which, by the way, in the fitness industry, people tend to go to the same days and times too,
Yeah,
right? So,
100%.
so you know
Especially
if you know,
CrossFit model. You go to
yeah,
noon at CrossFit, you're at noon every single day, and that's the only time you go to
and
it.
you
That's how it
and you
works.
could even do some things like, hey, this is how my jujitsu school reopened. They said, okay, you're going to have three other training partners. Those are the only people you're training with. It'd be no different than saying CrossFit. You get to come in 3 times a week, but it has to be the same people in that. So you get the noon Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that
Yeah,
way you're
100%.
limiting versus someone that goes out to eat may go to 5 different restaurants in
Yeah,
a
with
week.
20 different people each time. They go with their coworkers one day, their family one day. They go in Saratoga, they go in Albany. That's a great point. And I think this is what needs to be driven home. Fitness isn't saying, let us just reopen the way we used to. I'm not looking to have back to back classes, 15 minutes apart, 50 people a class anymore. Like those days are long behind me. I'm just asking, give me restrictions and let me open and follow those restrictions. And there's so many ways we can do it. These other industries can't do. They could never do it. Like you said, we could say, you want to come to the hot yoga spot? That's great. Pick the class time you want to come to. That's your class time no matter what. You have to make a reservation. We're taking your temperature at the door. We have to make sure we have your email address and phone number on file. I mean, there are so many ways that we could do this if we were given the chance to do it. And it's the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, the more I genuinely don't understand what's going on here because it's so backward that this industry that's needed now more than ever for physical health and mental and emotional well-being is being just like stalemated and cut off from people's lives so severely.
Yeah, I mean, really, you've nailed it. I think that's why we need Ackerman, Fuller, 2012, Fuller, Ackerman, however you want
Right.
to position it. I mean, the world needs a female president, so you could take that one, and then
Listen. Oh, thank you. That's very gracious of you. I will take that one.
So, is there anything for the listeners that are in either a similar state from New York State or just want to support the fitness industry in New York? Is there any? Do you know of any ways they can reach out? They can help.
I mean, honestly, I think it starts on your local level. I know, and it's been different for every industry. I know with CrossFit, and a lot of like boot camp type places, people have maintained memberships at a really high percentage rate, which I think is amazing. Doing that helps to give back to your gym, the place that makes you feel good, the place that makes you your best self. Continue to do that. It's been really hard with the yoga model because we have unlimited plans for sure. A lot of people cancel them. It just is what it is. But a lot of the money at a yoga studio comes from day-to-day sales, single sessions, 5 class passes, and that money literally evaporated overnight on March 16th. So it's been really challenging. And I think a lot of times people they don't realize business owners, you still have expenses. A lot of them are still trying to pay their teachers, their coaches. They still have rent, they still have utilities, those fixed expenses that can't get turned off overnight. So I think the best thing to do wherever you're a member, if you can continue to support them, continue to support them. If you financially can't, share their stuff on social media, let your friends know, if they're doing stuff online to check in for that. I think those are a really great way to just be involved with the actual community that's been important to you. I think this is a really good time that you can show that community that they're important to you as well. So I think that's the best way to do it. I think if you want to try to have an even bigger impact, I would say call your representatives, email your representatives, whoever is helping to make these decisions. Let them know that you want fitness open. Let them know why it's important, what it's doing to the quality of your life and the life of your community that it's closed. I think the more we can like annoy them and the more we can get the message out there, the better chance we have. It's not perfect, but it's like the more voices, the more people they think they're annoying, the better chance we have of finally being heard.
I think you've nailed it. If somebody knows Governor Cuomo, get us in touch.
Please do. I got some things to say.
So, no, I mean, it was really good to talk about this stuff. Obviously, I'd love to talk to you about everything in your journey, but I really wanted to focus today on, putting it out there because you're not the only one. And it seems to me like, and granted, I don't know everything about this, but out of 50 states, it really seems like New York is the one being hit hardest in the fitness world. And, this podcast is primarily for CrossFitters, but also, for everyone in this health and fitness model. And it's just, like I said, I was outspoken at first about shutting down. I was thinking 2 weeks, maybe a month, like you said. But it's not even about being, I would accept fitness being shut down longer if they were being smart about it. They're being completely irrational about it.
Yeah. It's shut down with no end in sight and with no objective, with no explanation, with no alternative. I've heard from the governor's office, like, oh, if your fitness is closed, just do it outside. Like, that sounds great, but why are if it was that easy to just do it outside, you can't bring a CrossFit rig outside super easily. You can't bring bikes from a spin place outside very easily. Even for me with yoga, half of our classes right now this summer are either 100 degrees or they're rained out. So we're canceling classes left and right because the weather is not allowing it. So, and then even if you can do it outside, there are certain people, they're like, oh, just go for a run. If you have bad joints, if you have, any type of issue like that, if you're really overweight, if you have an injury, a lot of times the form of fitness you do is because of these issues with your body or your preferences. Not everybody can just go for a run. Not everybody wants to. I don't want to go for a run.
I don't want to run.
In a million years, I don't want to do that. So for them to say, oh, if you want fitness, just go do it outside by yourself. But for every other industry, come inside, we'll take care of you.
Right. They're not saying, like, if anything, what's easier to replicate than a restaurant? Like, cook
in your
and
house.
in your kitchen, right? Like, and again, we're just going to circle back to it, but they're basically just saying restaurants are more important than fitness. That's all they're saying.
Everything is more important than fitness. Is exactly what they're saying. And the irony of them saying that in a time when a pandemic is killing people that are not fit, I have to question who is making these decisions and how they're qualified to make them, because the thinking and the logic seems inherently flawed. I mean, I know we've said it many times, but every time,
No, we just keep going back to it because it's so crazy. But I mean, you just nailed it. I'll let you take it there. So people can go to the Hot Yoga Spot on demand if they want to take some great yoga classes with very attractive people. I just throw it out there because I went on there. I looked around.
Allowed. No ugly teachers allowed. I have a hard line on
that. So, and then outside of that, like you said, support your local fitness facility wherever you're going and reach out to your representative. Like that's really what it takes. Whether it's going to do anything or not, you got to put it out there.
Yeah, it's better than not doing anything, and at least reaching out and trying to get change is better than not trying to get change. But definitely, helping to provide some type of financial resource or awareness to your local CrossFit, yoga studio, gym, whatever, that definitely will do something to that business. Even just getting nice emails and nice messages on Instagram from members being like, we miss you, I'm thinking about you, how are you doing? Like, for me on a personal level, I cry every single time I get one. So even if you can't do something financially, like, send a nice note to a trainer or a coach or a yoga teacher that's changed your life, a studio that's been there for you. Right now in this scary time, that is going such a long way. And like Jason said, if you want to learn more about me or the Hot Yoga Spot, thehotyogaspot.com.
And then also check you out on Instagram, the Hot Yoga Spot.
Yep, Hot Yoga Spot on Instagram. If you want to do our on-demand, like he said, it's amazing. The code is Ackerman. You'll get 50% off your first month, and you will be feeling flexy from home. It'll be great.
All right, Jess. Well, great catching up with you. Thanks for sharing your story, and hopefully that resonated with a lot of people.
We'll see. Thank you for having me, Jason. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't already, do us a favor, head over to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback for either Fern or myself, hit us up, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram at Best Hour of Their Day. Once again, we couldn't do this without the amazing community, and you are a part of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting Best Hour of Their Day.